Welcome in to Garbage Time Fantasy Football. You got your host, Ron Seymour, joined as always by Ryan Warner, Joseph McCann, and JJ LaPlante. How you doing, boys?
Good. How are you, man?
I'm doing things. JJ's poured himself a drink.
Yep. I'm starting to think we should just call this the Aaron Rodgers hour.
Aaron Rodgers hour.
I'll quit.
All right. Yeah. So on today's show, we are going to be discussing some sleepers, breakout type things, people who aren't being talked about a whole lot, really.
Specify breakout players because I'm going to need to go over a player that JJ said was not a breakout player because he's pretty good. So we'll stick to breakout players.
Yeah.
Sleepers or breakout players?
Yeah, we got a little bit. I'm going to try something here with the news drop. So we're going to get into the news. So we're going to play a little.
I like it.
We're trying something new here.
News updates.
I love it.
Beautiful.
How professional.
Yeah. I played around with a new sound or two today, and I was trying to find a better news drop. I'm just workshopping some now.
It's pretty good, man.
That was the news drop. So we are into the news. Couple small things. Najee Harris signed his rookie deal with the Steelers. Has any rookie ever not signed their deal? Has that ever happened?
I mean, I feel like Bosa got close.
Also, Roquan Smith too from Bears. He was right. He missed training camp while they were figuring out. Yeah.
Oh, wow. All right.
Ron, before we move on, can I just say I'm very happy you put Ron Burgundy at the front of that.
Ron Burgundy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
Sure sounds like him.
That was just the voice. If I could get Ron Burgundy, I would do Ron Burgundy, in a heartbeat. All of my drops would just be Will Ferrell as Ron Burgundy. I'm gonna have to get a hold of Will Ferrell.
You kick someone off the podcast, and you'd be the fourth member.
Yeah. Sorry, Ryan.
That's okay. So I guess one question I have, and I'm not super good on contract stuff and everything, is I thought that rookie contracts are pretty much the dollar amounts and everything are preset, right? So what would be the holdups for when it comes to getting these contracts signed?
That's what I thought too.
A lot of them, some teams do it different. Some teams will give kids more of their guaranteed money up front. Others want to space it out over the contract. I think that was the big problem with Bosa. He wanted more money, more of his guaranteed money up front. And the way the Chargers do the rookie deals, they try and space it out over the course of the deal.
Right.
So it's not so much the money. It's just where the money's put,
right.
Where it goes. And then sometimes there's injury clauses and different stuff like that, like how covered they are.
Okay.
So the money itself is pretty set in stone. It's just how the money gets to them. That's all right.
ESPN in fancy terms calls it offset language, and they love to throw that term around.
Yes.
So fancy with their fancy terms. Aaron Rodgers did not report to voluntary OTAs, which is kind of significant because he always
for the first time.
Yeah, he's always has reported. So
it's kind of funny he's in Hawaii.
I mean, if I was a rich football player that had millions of dollars, I'd probably spend most of my off season in Hawaii also.
Probably.
I mean, and then the biggest piece of news, Julio Jones was recorded saying that he is out of Atlanta. Whether he knew he was being recorded or not is a topic for debate.
Good job, Shannon Sharp.
Yeah, but this is the one that actually could have some serious fantasy impact. So let's dive into it. Where do we think, if he is traded, where he will go? JJ, why don't you start off with your prediction?
So I know some of the locations that my fellow podcasters are going to select. So here's one that I just kind of want to see. I'd like to see him go to the Chargers. They have a ton of cap space, and that defense is really up and coming. They brought in Brandon Staley from the Rams, who's going to have that defense running even better. So I think they have a window. They got their quarterback on a rookie deal. So in the next couple of years, they can really add some pieces to make a push in the postseason. I think they have the talent to do it. And I know they have the big guy, Mike Williams, but he's never on the field, and I don't know, he's just inconsistent and hasn't put it together yet. But if you had
He's
Keenan
not
Allen,
Julio.
right, exactly. But I mean, Herbert lost his offensive coordinator, but I guess he lost Anthony Lynn. So he's going to have a little bit of turnover with a new regime, and I think adding Julio Jones would make it that much easier. So
Although game decisions might get better with Anthony Lynn gone.
yeah.
My only
I don't know.
problem with him going to the Chargers is he does get injured, frequently, and their doctor on the Chargers is a little suspect. I'm worried that he might, stub a toe and end up with a broken ankle or something. So,
Do you think he went out the door with Anthony Lynn?
I hope he went out the door a lot sooner than that. I hope after he punctured someone's lung, they were like, "Bro, you gone." All right, that's just.
He must be the new doctor of the Texans.
You are an NFL caliber sports medicine person here. You should not be stabbing people in the lungs. Like, sorry.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan, where do you think he's gonna go?
It's never
All
gonna
right.
be old.
As a shocker to everybody, I think
Oh,
New
geez.
England is the perfect landing spot for Julio.
32-year-old wide
Dang.
receiver. Never saw that coming.
As Joe just pointed out, veteran wide receiver, nearing the tail end of his career. Bill Belichick always likes to swoop in and grab those guys. The Patriots do have enough cap space to bring him on. We have the capital to make it possible. Julio has said, he wants to play with Cam. Cam's coming off a down year, but also when you look at the receivers he didn't have anything really. So bringing Julio on, I think it gives Cam Newton the best chance to succeed, but it would also be the best chance for Matt Jones to succeed if they end up putting him in at some point in the season. So I think it'd be a great fit, and his top two are Titans and Patriots, both New England head coaches there. So I think that's the kind of team he wants to play for.
I don't think it's a bad fit. Like, I'm not saying that like he wouldn't do okay in New England, but he did also on that call that he did or did not know he was being recorded, said he wants to win. And they scoffed at him going to Dallas. And I think Dallas's road to at least the playoffs is a lot easier than the Patriots' road to the playoffs.
I just don't
Yeah.
think he wants to go there because there's so many weapons already there. He might
Well-
get buried even with how talented he is.
And even the depleted Patriots team that we had last year went, what was it, 7-9, I think. I mean, we basically did our defense back. We're just some offensive weapons away from having a real viable team. Already got Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith there. Threw in Nelson Aguilar. Might have paid him too much, but we threw him in there. So we definitely got more weapons, and I definitely think this is a team that could make a playoff run, even without Julio. But you throw Julio in there, then we're in competition to win the division.
So I know more people make the playoffs than just the division winners, but you always talk about win your division. And he scoffed at the Dallas Cowboys, who are in the NFC East, who could very easily win this division with the weapons they have now. But the Patriots have to go through the Bills, who are a powerhouse at this moment, a much improved Miami team, and a hopefully improved New York Jets team.
Damn right.
Look,
You're right. They'll probably
go.
go 2-15.
The Jets, yeah. I mean, maybe
they'll-
3-14. I
they'll
mean,
get a little bit
That's
better.
not improved. Yeah, it's a little better. So Ryan, let me ask you a serious question then. How do you think Julio Jones would perform with your future hybrid quarterback slash linebacker, number 50, Mac Jones.
I think he would do well because Matt Jones, I mean, he is that pocket passer that can just throw the ball downfield. He's not a scrambler. So really a deep threat in Julio is exactly what he needs to be successful there.
And how long before Mac Jones gets on the veggie diet like Tom Brady did and loses that beer gut?
He's probably on it now. Who knows? Probably making him
He's
wear
got
that
Tom
number
Brady
50
on
till he
speed
drops
dial.
a couple.
I like it.
Maybe
So,
they'll bring him. Maybe they'll
Was
bring him. What's
50
his
the
name?
amount of pounds they want him to lose? So every time he loses a pound, his number will go down like 49, 48, until
That
he
would
gets
be
down to
hilarious.
like incentive based. You want a better number? Lose some weight.
Hilarious.
I like it. I like it.
All right, Joe. Where's your spot?
All right, so I've kind of been diving down deep on the Julio Jones situation too, because there's not a lot of news going around with the NFL this year. It obviously started this week with the Shannon Sharp drama, whether he was on the call or not, and he knew he was being recorded. There was also a report out in the past week that the Patriots are having internal discussions about Julio Jones as to what they're willing to give up to get him. Anyone knows? I would guess probably a second-round pick. I don't think they want to give up the first-round pick that reportedly Atlanta wants for a 32-year-old wide receiver. And I think a really good landing spot for him would potentially be the Tennessee Titans, which I brought up on a previous episode. Imagine him across from Brown, who I think is going to be a heavy target in that offense, considering there's not a lot of other people to throw to. They lost their second wide receiver. They lost Jonnu Smith. So, I mean, throwing him and Julio on that offense would be pretty interesting mix, I think. Yeah, that's what I think about it.
All right. For me, I also like the Titans, but I will pick one that I think would be really fun for fantasy, and that would be the Kansas City Chiefs.
Ugh,
Because
Cancel the season.
get Julio with Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, like it would just be fun to watch.
Is that even
And
possible? Like with the cap
I-
situation?
I
don't
don't
think
even
it's-
know, nor do I care. It's just what I want to see.
Can I also add something to it though too? If
No.
Julio did get, yeah, well, I'm going to. So you know what? You're in timeout for a second. Just if he did end up getting traded too, I think Kyle Pitts, even as a rookie, his tight end value is just going to skyrocket too. Whether that puts him in the top 3, I don't know, but I could see him somewhere in that 3 to 7 range if he did get that high. They would just throw a lot of targets his way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do know that if Julio gets traded, I will have 0 shares of Kyle Pitts because the price you would need to pay to get him at that point would be ridiculous.
Speaking of
Like-
ridiculous prices on tight ends, the Lions also reported that they think the sky is the limit with TJ Hawkinson in that offense.
It's because he's the only pass catcher there.
Damn right.
All right. So that was, I think we've exhausted all we're going to do about Julio Jones. We'll just wait and see if and when he gets traded. I think it's more of a when, not an if right now. But
I mean, it automatically has to be past the June deadline, right? Because of the cap situation.
Mhm.
I mean, they could do it beforehand, but they're
Yeah,
waiting until
they
after
can
June 1st.
make the agreement and designate it as post June 1st.
Yeah.
I mean, how deep into the offseason do you think they want to go before they pull the trigger on where they send him? I imagine you
It-
want to do it kind of early, right?
It wouldn't shock me if they already have a deal in place with someone.
I don't agree with that
It would-
necessarily. I think they might wait till training camp and there's an injury because I mean they might get a higher price on him. They might be. Adam Schefter said this week they were fishing for the first round pick. Do I think they'll get that? No. But I could see them getting a second and a third if a team gets desperate with an injury during training camp.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a situation of set the price really high. That way, when a team comes in under, you still are getting a pretty good value.
Right.
All right. We will move on to our main topic of the day, which is sleepers / breakouts. I will let Ryan go first.
All right, so JJ will be happy about this. With my first sleeper pick, I'm going to go with Cole Kmet, tight end, Chicago Bears. I will preface this with saying, one, I think he has amazing dynasty value. Like, he is definitely someone you should be looking at in a dynasty league. The 2021 campaign is going to be based solely off of the Jimmy Graham situation, I think the Bears are going to let him go. I see him being released for salary cap situations. And Graham last season finished with 76 targets. So if Kmet's taking on that role, the targets are definitely there for him to get. He also, towards the end of the season, you saw a huge jump in his involvement on the offense. He went from playing 47% of the snaps all the way up to 78% of the snaps. So he really started to take on that tight end one role. So and I think I see that as the Bears really starting to invest in him and working towards moving on from Jimmy Graham. So that will definitely just be keep an eye on your Jimmy Graham situation this offseason. And if he's released or traded or whatever, I definitely think Cole Kmet can break out. Or even if Jimmy Graham gets injured, I mean, it's a miracle he played every game last season. Usually that doesn't happen with big tight ends. So he could definitely be a big breakthrough this season. He finished tight end 41 last season. So he's definitely going to be far down on the board. You're probably not going to have to take him very early. Like he could definitely be a very late draft pick.
A very favorite theme of many episodes here, Ryan, but where does he have more value with as a quarterback with the Bears, with Andy Dalton or Justin Fields?
Well, I know we talked about it a lot in that a tight end for a rookie quarterback is a great check down target. I mean, they're a big security blanket for him. So I think if Justin Fields is there, then Kmet will probably get more targets than if Andy Dalton's there.
Yeah, I mean, I know that the Bears have like $400,000 in cap space. Like they're towards the bottom of the league right now, and it's been all over that Jimmy Graham's on the roster bubble. So, like Ryan said, last year he started to come on towards the end of the year. The first half of the year, they really did not involve him. He'd come in for a few design plays every game. And after every, they were throwing screens to Jimmy Graham, and all the Chicago media is like, why are you doing this? Jimmy Graham's slow as hell. This kid can run people over. He's way faster. He's younger. Get him on the field.
Perfect.
That's what I was thinking. So, I think the move is to cut him and give Kmet a shot to be the one. And Nagy drafted Kmet to be his Travis Kelce of this offense. You got to remember his roots. He came from Kansas City. He says he couldn't run his offense with Mitch. So, I mean, he's going to try and replicate that Kansas City offense, and he wants him to be his Kelce. So I think he definitely has a potential and athletic ability. It's just, is it this year or next year? But I like to pick Ryan.
We just got to keep in mind, though, too, is teams can definitely work salary cap magic. Tampa Bay did it this year, too. So whether they let Big Bird go or not, we'll just have to see.
Yeah, and I know he was like the Walter Payton candidate this year, and he's well liked in the locker room. So I think that makes it tougher. And Cole Kmet really looks up to him, and he helped mentor him a lot. So,
well, and I think a big thing too is when you're Jimmy Graham getting to the end of your career like this is he really willing to take the pay cut, or like kind of what's his opinion, and if he's going to be willing to take that hit on his salary just to stay on the team or not?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. All right. Anything else about Cole Kmet? All right, Joe, why don't you go with your first one?
All right. So with my first breakout player, it's not really a breakout. He kind of came on, but he works in a running back by committee. It's Jeff Wilson for the 49ers. I think he'll be a good late round addition and a good value this year in snake drafts. I don't believe he's got a lot of dynasty value because, like I said, there's a lot of running backs on this roster. They just drafted a kid from Ohio State, too. Honestly, with McKinnon gone and Tevin Coleman off the roster, his only competition right now is going to be Raheem Mostert unless, the rookie just absolutely breaks out right now. Also, Raheem Mostert seems to get injured a lot. Jeff Wilson last year led the 49ers in yards with 733 and 10 touchdowns last year, which a lot of people I don't think realize. Also, Wilson could be a sneaky running back too, I think, in Kyle Shanahan's offense. So get him in a good value, maybe somewhere in the 7th, 8th round, somewhere, maybe your third running back.
So, breaking news. Jeff Wilson will miss the start of the 2021 season due to a torn meniscus. Is going to be out 4 to 6 months.
Yeah, well, we can throw that out the window, I guess.
Did that just pop up?
It popped up in the middle of Ryan talking, and I went back and looked because I
Yep.
thought I saw one of us have a breakout thing for Jeff Wilson.
Garofolo just tweeted it out 14
Yeah.
minutes ago. Yep.
Yeah,
Is that like karma in the universe that I really have to go over my original plan, JJ?
I guess. So.
I think it's Joe's fault. Like Joe gave him bad
Joe-
juju.
Joe
Yeah,
jinxed him.
way to go, Joe.
That's because I was waffling on my original thing. So should I discuss Robert Woods now then?
I don't know how he's a sleeper. I don't understand.
None of us
Okay.
agree with you that he's a sleeper.
All right. So originally
He's-
we were talking about
he's-
people. This is someone I saw as I'm going to talk about Robert Woods now then. All right. So Robert Woods, before we really designated between a sleeper or a breakout candidate, I see him as someone you could get value for because of the quarterback coming into the team. So with Jeff Wilson injured, I'll go into him a little bit, I guess then. I think honestly, Robert Woods is similar build to Marvin Jones, where he's going to be a big red zone target for him. I mean, with Stafford last year, he had 978 yards, 9 touchdowns. And they also have a similar build to where he's 6'2", 198 pounds, and Robert Woods is 195 pounds and 6 foot. Robert Woods also had 6 touchdowns this year, which is the best red zone target on that team. And I think with Matt Stafford there, Sean McVay could look to recreate that magic. So I think you could get a decent value for him. And instead of him having close to 1,000 yards, maybe he could have 1,100 yards and maybe 9 touchdowns.
So
Not necessarily a breakout, but a good value before we clarified what the breakout player was.
I mean, his
I mean-
ADP right now is number 17.
Right.
Which
But I could see him going somewhere towards top 10 with Stafford there, like 11, 12.
He's always undervalued. Robert
Yeah, I
Woods
mean-
has always been undervalued in fantasy football. You can always get him way later, and he always outproduces where you get him. I'll give you that.
Did you
But I
get
mean,
breaking news that
sleeper.
he's hurt now too?
Not yet. I was really hoping. I'm not gonna lie. Not that I wish injuries on it. I was really hoping that it was gonna be like, oh, sprained his ankle at practice, something just stupid, just to screw with you. But
How long did they say the injury was going to be for?
it said 4 to 6 months.
Yeah, he's not going to get any traction on that offense.
Yeah,
now
because
then.
as soon as Trey Sermon gets in there, everyone else is done. They traded up for Trey Sermon. They want Trey Sermon to be the guy.
Took him in the 3rd round for some of those other notable backs in the draft. They obviously have a
Yeah.
lot of.
So
Yeah.
don't draft Jeff Wilson.
They were
that's-
just waiting for me
that-
to talk about my
Yeah.
breakout player before they dropped the news.
Right. Yeah, exactly. All right. My first one is Carson Wentz. Now, Carson Wentz was not horrible in fantasy last year, but he's definitely being slept on, I think, this year. His
I
current
still think
ADP
you need to drop the glass emoji for him, though.
for whom? Carson Wentz?
Yeah.
Don't we have a rule? It's like 3 seasons for that. And I think
I
he's
guess
only
if
done
you
2.
say so.
I thought we had a rule. I don't remember the rule. I thought we made a rule at one point. Anyway,
So Carson finished number.
his
Go ahead.
current ADP is round 12, pick 2. I feel like he's going to greatly outproduce that ADP. He's reuniting with Frank Reich, who was the offensive coordinator for the Eagles when they went to the Super Bowl. Frank Reich made him look like an MVP candidate and helped Nick Foles win a Super Bowl. So in the 13 games he played that season, he had a 60% completion, just over 3,000 yards, 101.9 pass rating, and a 33-7 touchdown to interception ratio. If you take that and you do it for the full 17, or I did 17 games or the 16 games, whatever that year, he would have finished with 4,500 yards, 46 touchdowns, and only 9 interceptions. Like, they had a really good offensive line that year. The Colts have a really good offensive line. Here's where I feel like he can do even better. These were his teammates, his top offensive weapons that year. His running back was LeGarrette Blount, 31-year-old LeGarrette Blount. He's going into a team now that has fresh legs, John Taylor, and Naheem Hines. His wide receivers were Nelson Aguilar, Alshon Jeffrey, and Torrey Smith. Now he's going to a team where he's get T.Y. Hilton, Paris Campbell, and Michael Pittman Jr. This is overall a better situation, I believe, that he had that year. He was an MVP caliber player. And also that year, he was sacked the fewest times of his career at 28. Like, you give this guy time, which I believe he will have in Indianapolis. That ADP of 1202, which is the 18th QB off the board. He's going to be top 10. I haven't done any projections yet, but the more I look into Carson Wentz on this Colts team, he's probably going to be top 10 in my list.
Carson Wentz is an interesting case study too, because I remember on our like midseason award breakdown show last season, you guys were very surprised to find out that he was actually scoring top 12 in fantasy leagues with how bad the media coverage was around him. You would have sworn he was the worst quarterback in the league, and that just wasn't the case. He was just on a really team that was just falling apart.
He's not a big rusher that hurts his value in fantasy a little bit. Last year, he had his most rushing touchdowns at 5. Every other year, he's had 1 or 2, which I think that'll be more than normal. Last year, he was running for his life. The offensive line just was banged up and horrible in Philadelphia last year.
He sure doesn't make it look pretty, and he makes you hold your breath when he's playing in fantasy games, but he seemed to get the job done somehow last year.
But he's definitely being slept on with a 12th round ADP, 18th quarterback off the board.
Even to kind of bolster Ron's point a little bit more. So last season, he was averaging 17.78 points per game, played 12 games. But that average, if you just put the average in across the 16 games, he would have been ranked like number 12 or 13. And that was in a much worse situation than what he'll be going into at Indy.
And to Ron's point, his best season, 2017, he's potentially got a better roster. That year, he was number 5 overall in fantasy points for quarterback, and he only played 13 games. He was still 5th overall. So it's just the only question for me with him is not his talent or his supporting cast, is just mentally where he's at, because it really seemed like he got rattled mentally with them bringing in Jalen Hurts and his riff with Doug Peterson. There were reports they weren't even talking. So
plus he got sacked a lot last year.
Yes, he did.
And, that's going to rattle some people too, which makes me nervous because as a quarterback, you don't want to see that. You don't want to see someone get like the Mannings, both of them. You never seen them get rattled. Like Eli Manning got sacked a lot, made some stupid faces when he got up too.
That's exactly what I was thinking about.
Yeah. He made some real stupid faces sometimes getting back up, but he was never rattled. His composure was always the same. So hopefully he can fix that. And I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out guns blazing.
Frank Wright really has to be a security blanket, as you pointed out.
Yeah. Oh, not to mention, like his tight ends, Mo Alley Cox and Jack Doyle. He likes his tight ends and they've got them.
Yep.
He's got a chance to succeed there.
Yeah. All right, JJ, go ahead with your first.
So I'm gonna follow suit with Joe and pick a Rams receiver, but I picked Van Jefferson. I think he's a really talented player, and the Rams spent a 2nd round pick on him. He had a ton of buzz at the Senior Bowl, and a lot of people said this guy's going to be special in the league. And last year, he only had like 200 yards. He didn't get a lot of opportunities on the field. But the second year really is where you see a lot of those receivers take that jump. And I think the Rams are going to want to see what they have in him. They got rid of they let Josh Reynolds walk. He's with the Titans now. We may hear on him later. I'm not sure. But I think he's going to step right in and give some production to that offense. And with Matt Stafford coming in, you could see a few more air yards. I'm not sure how many, but I really like his upside, and he's definitely someone I'm going to be targeting in later rounds, deeper leagues probably.
Well, that's probably a smart decision because I just mentioned Robert Woods, so he's bound to get injured. So
He Jefferson did have like a 60% catch rate last season. Just he didn't get a ton of targets when he was playing, but catch rate's pretty good.
My only thing, didn't they draft like with their first pick of the draft? Didn't they draft another wide receiver like second round?
Tutu Atwell.
Yeah, that worries me. I think it was a dumb pick because I do like the talent of Van Jefferson. I think he could be really good, but you spend a second rounder on a wide receiver and you're going to want to see what you got. I don't know if they're just prepping for either Robert Woods or Cooper Kupp leaving at the end of this year. Or maybe they try to trade one of them during the year. I don't know, but it gives me pause with Van Jefferson. Like, does he have to beat out Tutu Atwell to even see the field?
It's a
Good
valid
point.
question. And I had looked at Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods contracts, and they're pretty locked into those. There's a lot of dead money involved in those deals. So I mean, they're not going to get cut after this season. I think they're locked in until at least after 2022. I'm really looking at, where Jefferson is right now, ranked in like the 250s or
Yeah.
270s. I've seen him as low as that. I mean, that 1 year, I can't remember what year it was, but Josh Reynolds had pretty decent chunk and he had a couple 100-yard games. I think he could potentially fill that. And we've seen Cooper Kupp get hurt quite frequently. So if anything were to happen to him, he could definitely, I think, step in and be just as productive with his talent.
if they did look to trade one of those top two wide receivers, which I think they could, but wouldn't get a lot, I think it would be Robert Woods simply for his age. He's over 30. So
He's actually only 29.
is he really? He's been in the league a lot. Shorter
Well,
than
in the same year as us, Joe. We're almost
think-
there.
Thought he was
I think
31.
I think Cooper Kupp is over 30, isn't he?
No, I think he's in his 20s too.
Oh, wow. It just feels like they've been in the league forever.
Kupp is only 27.
Wow. Yeah, so I don't understand the Tutu Atwell pick. I don't know what they've got planned, but
He's
They
a really
are.
small guy, but he's got a return background.
right.
So, I mean, I think they can use him all over, put him in the backfield, punt returner, gadget plays. I think that's probably what he'll do his first year.
Mhm.
And I think
Kind of like a
Jefferson will get-
Kadarius Toney type thing with the Giants.
Yeah.
29. JJ was on point again.
He's so smart, well versed in the
So
football.
smart,
knowledge.
JJ.
The only reason I know is because I was looking at the Rams receivers earlier.
I was waiting for him to hold up his fantasy trophy.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's got it. He looks at it
There
while
it
he's
is.
doing his podcast.
it's always handy.
All right, Ryan, go ahead with your second one.
So my second sleeper might be a type of Joe situation where this is more like a breakout than a sleeper, but whatever. I did Marvin Jones Jr. Went to Jacksonville this offseason, coming off his second best season in his career, I think. 978 receiving yards with the Lions. He's going to Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence. He'll also have Shark and Chenault there. So you'll probably see more one-on-one coverage than he's seen since his Bengals days, probably. Finished as receiver number 18 last season in PPR leagues. Right now, over at Fantasy Pros, they have him ranked number 37 for ADP. So I think he could be a pretty good steal if you're able to snag him in the later rounds. I think he'll do pretty well over there. And the Jaguars also have those two running backs now because they drafted one when they didn't need to, which could probably help the passing game as well.
You mean their third down back?
Yeah, they're third down
Oh,
back.
shit.
That's been lining up in the slot during practices.
That
They're
they're
gonna be-
that,
they're gonna
that
be-
they're having take wide receiver snaps only. Yeah.
Yeah,
They're going to look like the Oakland Raiders of old.
I just
Don't forget Tim Tebow.
I want to like the Jacksonville Jaguars offense this year. Like they got Trevor Lawrence, they brought in Marvin Jones. I want to like it, but something about me just says that Urban Meyer is going to screw this up somehow.
Get fired in his first year.
Like I'm telling you, like I don't know if it's because like, oh, big name coming out of college, gonna be amazing in the NFL. We've heard that so many times, and it rarely does it actually translate well. And like, I want to like this offense. I want to like these pieces that are on this offense. I just can't. I
I don't think
can't
the
do it.
problem's going to be Trevor Lawrence. It's going to be Urban Meyer if there is
Well,
one. It's
that's
just-
what I
they're,
mean.
ma-
Yeah.
they're making strange decisions over there.
Right. And it's giving me pause about the whole thing. Like, I want to like ETN. I think he's a crazy talented running back. But like, he's lining up in the slot, which actually for fantasy would be amazing. But is that
Marvin
all he's
Jones,
doing?
I will say, was one of their smarter decisions, though. He'll be a good red zone
Yeah,
target.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know. It's just one of those things where I can't trust it, I guess, until I see it.
I don't know
No,
what it is about the Jaguars, but I'm just never drawn to Jaguars players in drafts. I just never have them on my team. Like, I don't know.
They've been pretty crappy for the past.
I don't know if it's
ever.
their colors or what it is. Like, they always suck and are at the top of the draft. Like, I just never like want or am drawn to them. So
Yeah.
I was a
like
big believer
Joe.
in DJ Chark last year, and he just didn't do much.
Yeah, it was just
He was
something-
injured a lot too.
Yeah.
Injured, and that quarterback, they just started playing the worst quarterback so they could get Trevor Lawrence
Yeah.
because the Jets screwed it out.
Oh, I miss Minshew mania.
All right. Who is number 2?
Take your
Was
pick.
Was it me? Did I go second?
It was
Here's
Joe.
Joe.
Oh, Joe goes second.
All right, I'll go, I guess, then. All right, so for my second player, I ended up picking Saints tight end Adam Troutman as a potential breakout player this year. I think some interesting things about him is Josh Hill and Jared Cook are gone, so it's going to leave him a lot of opportunities. He's got, I think, pretty impressive catching and route running ability. It's going to really all depend on the quarterback that's starting in this offense, I think. Troutman also in college had 547 snaps. Oh, no, that with the Saints. That was with Dayton. So he had 547 snaps and 393 of them were on offense with the Saints last year. And while he was at Dayton, what I was trying to align before my brain screwed that all up, he had 128 receptions, 2,200 yards and 31 touchdowns. So, I mean, the ability for him to catch the ball is there. And he's going to stay on the field because he's got a lot of blocking ability too. So I think he could be a potential breakout at tight end with the Saints too. And I could see him having maybe about 500 yards. So he's someone to keep an eye on.
You think he'll be more of like a consistent week to week, get you a baseline more than a boom bust tight end for fantasy? Or
I don't think he'll
That's how
really be
I-
I don't see him being a boom bust candidate. Unfortunately, I think he's going to fall into the wasteland of out of the top 3 tight ends where you kind of are looking at them week to week and picking matchups. But I think he's someone that you can look at and won't really be hurt by him.
the way I feel about him is kind of the same way. Like you're gonna get like 3-4 catches for 40 yards or so a game, and then if you get a touchdown, you're really happy. But you'll always have that baseline like 6-7 points. That's kind of how I feel about Troutman.
I mean, his only competition there too is Nick Vannett, who came in from Denver, and I feel like he's more of a blocking tight end anyway, so he's going to get the catches there.
I like to pick Joe, and one of the main reasons why is the Saints really didn't do anything to bolster their pass catchers. I mean, they drafted a receiver in the 7th round, but they let Emmanuel Sanders go. They got Traquan Smith and obviously Michael Thomas, but other than that, there's not really anybody on the roster that I think opposing teams will see as a huge threat. Additionally, if the Saints have brains and actually play the quarterback that they have in the roster, Jameis Winston, he liked throwing to the tight end, especially in the red zone. Him and Cameron, he made both Cameron Brate and O.J. Howard fantasy relevant when he was playing with Tampa. So, I mean, I definitely can see a scenario where he's even more than 500 yards, 600-700 yards there. I think there's a lot of targets to be had in that offense.
Yeah, I agree with that. Ron, you look like you had a migraine over there for a second. You got something to say?
No, I had something in my eye. got it. Everything's good.
I thought that was a
No,
reference to
I
Jameis
like the
Winston,
pick.
but
No, I just think it's funny that JJ just refuses to acknowledge that Taysom Hill's even a quarterback. It's just funny to me.
Say his name.
at least he's not a linebacker like Ryan's quarterback.
Right,
Yeah, he should
exactly.
change his number to 50. Make me happier.
All
Ryan,
right,
you got
we'll
any
move
opinion
on.
on Troutman before we move on?
Well, what if the Saints finally decide that Taysom Hill's not a quarterback and just have him play tight end?
Oh,
Does
screw
that
more
hurt
people
Troutman's
up
valuable?
fantasy-wise. No surprise there.
Then I guess all my breakout candidates are a real failure.
I don't think if Taysom Hill's not at quarterback, they don't want him on the field 100% of the time at tight end.
Yeah,
He
I know. I
doesn't
just
have the
want to
build.
give
He's not going to block.
Joe a hard time.
Yeah.
I'm giving
All right, we'll
myself
move-
a hard time tonight.
We'll move on to my next pick. I'm going to preface this with this is if Julio Jones does not get traded to the Titans. My pick is Josh Reynolds, newly acquired wide receiver by the Titans. His current ADP right now, he's being taken as the 72nd wide receiver off the board. The Tennessee Titans have lost 57 targets or so, 150 targets, with losing Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith. So last year, Corey Davis had 65 receptions for 984 yards and 5 touchdowns. Jonnu Smith had 41 receptions for 448 yards and some touchdowns. Josh Reynolds is going to step into that role with all the coverage being on A.J. Brown. He's going to be seeing probably single coverage, and it's not like he can't handle it. Last year with the Rams, with being the third wide receiver, he had 52 receptions for 618 yards, only 2 touchdowns. As the second in a very efficient offense that has to stack the box against Derrick Henry and then roll coverage A.J. Brown's way, he could be seeing a lot of easy catches that he can get some space afterwards for too. And with him being number 72 wide receiver taken off the board, you might even be able to grab him like with your final pick of the draft with $1 in auction leagues, maybe even off the waiver wire. I believe he's being wildly undervalued because he doesn't have the name. He's not a known commodity.
Ron, do you know anything about his blocking ability?
No.
Because he's going to be covering for Derrick Henry a lot.
No, and I understand that, but I mean, like I said, Corey Davis had almost 1,000 yards in the same offense last year. Like, Corey Davis was a viable fantasy starter for most of the year as like a wide receiver 3.
I was just curious about his measurables compared to Corey Davis because the Titans obviously like tight ends that can block because of that Sasquatch they have in the backfield. I just was kind of wondering where he'll fit in the offense.
So he's 6'3", 196 pounds. That gives you a physical estimate of where he's at.
So he's tall. He can block then probably.
Yeah. I mean, he's not he's not AJ Brown,
No.
but like I said, he can get those jump balls because he is 6'3", and he's going to be seeing soft coverages.
Well, it's going to suck being the third receiver there when Julio gets there.
Well, like I said, if Julio's there, then this is nothingness. Wait, let me check for breaking news. No, nothing yet. Okay.
No injuries.
Julio wasn't traded and he wasn't injured. Okay. But yeah, that's my second one. I think, like I said, if you can get him pretty late in the draft, which 72nd wide receiver off the board, you can. I feel like he could be good for your fantasy team.
I like it.
And JJ, round us out.
Yeah, so I went really deep here, and this is a real flyer.
Is this preseason deep?
It really is. I will bring up the preseason here in this analysis.
He's gonna be
Um,
MVP of the preseason Super Bowl.
I I went with Javian Hawkins. He is an undrafted free agent running back for the Atlanta Falcons. I just think he has a lot of upside. He opted out last year. 2019, he had over 1,500 yards on over 260 carries at Louisville, so he was heavily utilized there. He runs a 4.45. He'll be indoors on the rug in Atlanta. And if he's given the opportunity, I really think he could take off with it. I am not a believer in Mike Davis. I saw Mike Davis break down last year after his good fantasy stretch there with Carolina. You could just tell he was worn out and run down, not as fresh. So I don't see any way in hell that he makes it 17 games without at least missing games or losing production. So they're going to need some young running backs in there to spell him. So I think he has a lot of upside. Only other running backs they really have is Quadre Olison, who, I mean, I don't think anyone's really that familiar with him. He scored like a couple times in his career, but he's not that impressive. Caleb Huntley is another guy they have on their team. That's they brought in as an undrafted free agent, but he ran a 4.77 40, and he's a big, bulky guy, more like a fullback. So I don't know. This is just someone that I'm going to be looking at in the preseason because he'll probably get a lot of work and just see how his game translates to the NFL.
I
Did
like
you
your
say
deep-
he opted out last year?
I think he played like some games, but he then opted out like halfway through the season. Like
Okay, I was
Chuba
going to say
Hubbard
because he
and some of
played
the other
8
guys did.
games.
Yeah, he didn't
In
play the
8
full
games,
season.
I'm liking this. I'm liking this because in 8 games he had 133 attempts for 822 yards with a 6.2 average.
Yeah.
He's really interesting too because I mean, with Todd Gurley gone and they were willing to release Ito Smith, who was their backup running back, over 90% of their carries are open. I mean, obviously, the guy they brought in is going to take the majority of them, but if this undrafted guy coming in gets his opportunities, he really could have cut himself out a role in this offense.
Yeah, I fully anticipated them to hit running back in the draft, and they just didn't do it. So,
Mhm.
I mean, somebody's got to get the carries there, and I really don't think Mike Davis is going to last. So,
Yeah, I was really hoping they were going to get that Javonte Williams in the second round there. I thought that would have been a great pick for them.
yep.
I wrote that name down because I'm going to do some more research about this guy because I want to know.
We're going to see an undrafted rookie get his price jacked up in the auction draft.
I'm a football nut, so I watch all the preseason games. So
I watch as many as I can. No, that's a good one. I honestly, when you wrote down who you were doing, I said, "Who's that?" Like I had no idea who it was, what team he played for, what position he played, or anything. But I like it. His size concerns me a little. 5'9", 196. Like you said, will he be able to withstand the 17 game season? But I mean, he didn't get overworked in college, so his legs are still fairly fresh.
Yeah, he's only 21 also, and a lot of the running backs that are undersized that come in 190 end up being 205 or so their first season once they go through the NFL strength protocols and everything. So
Right, yeah.
See him cutting out a similar role to how Kareem Hunt was last year.
essentially,
Maybe.
just a guy.
What
keep an
is
eye on.
what is Mike Davis's contract? Is it like
Is it a
heavy? Did
3-year
they pay him a
contract?
lot?
No, it wasn't heavy. I think it was a 2 or 3 year contract though.
'Cause I'm wondering how like committed they are to him.
I think. Let me look.
2-year, 5.5.
Definitely not committed then.
Yeah, 5.5 million. Yeah,
And his dead cap
1.5
next year
signing
is
bonus
only.
and 3
His
million
dead cap
guaranteed.
next year isn't even a million, so it's
Yeah.
essentially a 1-year deal, and they'll probably cut him next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're not worried. So they're not worried to make him something. Yeah, no, Javian Hawkins, that's a good one.
I like it.
I'm
Just
calling
a-
it best sleeper pick of the episode. I love it.
Yeah, that was really good.
Good job, JJ.
We'll see. We'll see.
You called
Hopefully
that
makes me look
one,
like a
then-
genius.
We're amazing. Whole podcast is amazing.
Rest in peace, Jeff Wilson. I'm sorry about that.
Oh man, now watch Jeff Wilson come back and be like
A monster.
superstar. Yeah, like he comes back by like October and is just running over everybody.
Second
You're
half.
like, I told you.
Well, better hope Raheem Mostert don't get hurt, or that their rookie works out.
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
don't know. Any running back
That's-
seems to work in that offense, though, so I don't think it matters.
that's the episode, boys. We did pretty good. That was our sleepers breakouts. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Garbage Time Fantasy Football, on YouTube at Garbage Time Fantasy Football. Are we anywhere else? Oh, like us and follow us and subscribe and all that fun stuff on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Simplecast.
Leave us messages. We'll also answer them on the podcast.
Oh my God,
Don't be
leave
shy.
us messages. For the
I'll
love
have
of God.
some questions coming in from Twitter for the next episode. So
Oh,
I
you
like
will?
yeah, we'll do some kind of mailbag or something
Wait,
next episode.
do we have a Twitter?
Guess
I
we
have a
do now.
Twitter that I'm advertising Garbage Time with,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
and I'll get
Cool.
questions.
Maybe we'll actually have a mailbag and we'll have questions to answer. It'll be so
we
much
can.
fun.
Fancy new sound.
Fancy.
I love it.
Ooh, I'll find one.
Mailbag
I'll find
sound.
one.
You could do like the Blues Clues thing. I just
So-
got a letter.
That'd be awesome. I'll see what I can do. I did have a new sound that I was really hoping to be able to unveil tonight. I'm going to press the button so you guys can, so when we start getting
Ooh.
after each other, I was really hoping the Robert Woods take would, start something that I could hit it. And then, but that's a new sound for our repertoire. So
It
that'll be-
would have, but Joe, the smart guy he is, came to his senses.
he pivoted and then had
That
to pivot
ADP
back
is just a little
because
too high.
I wasn't
Yeah,
going to
well-
give you that courtesy.
all of your players today just, you just weren't on your game today. And I'm really disappointed in you, Joe.
I'm so sad now. Say what you want,
All
though.
right.
I think the Adam Troutman one is a good pick.
I do like the Adam Trautman one. I really do. I'm just messing with you, buddy. All right, we're gonna get out of here. Make sure you like, subscribe, and download. Have a great one, guys.